Nintendo Cartridge Society presents NCS Classic Edition, Donkey Kong Country 2, Diddy's Kong Quest, Part 2. Welcome to Nintendo Cartridge Society. My name is Patrick Ellis, joined as always by my co-host Mark Mitchell.
Hey Patrick, how's it going?
Good, Mark. I'm doing well.
Yeah,
I've
me too.
plunged some monkeys into lava over and over again. So we just finished playing the first two levels, worlds, whatever you want to call them, of Donkey Kong Country 2, Diddy's Kong Quest.
Yeah, we just finished Crocodile Cauldron, which is the volcano, and just beat a giant sword.
Right, whose name is Cleaver.
Cleaver. Ostensibly, I mean, the level's called Cleaver's Kiln, so
Right.
I assume it's possessive. So I assume it's Cleaver, but supposedly Cleaver could be
That could
somebody
be
else.
That could be a title,
Yeah.
right? He could be the Cleaver.
Oh, sure. Or he could be like Airbnb, the kiln from Cleaver, and the
Sure.
sword just happens to be there.
That's a great point.
Right.
Also, the sword must be possessed by some sort of demon, so maybe the demon's name is
Yeah.
Cleaver. Cleaver is also spelled with a K, it should be noted.
Yes.
Right. So, Mark, we're paying attention a lot to names, right? Names of levels and names of enemies. And I think part of that is that the game is rewarding us for having that information locked away, right?
Yeah.
So one of the things that is new to this game that was not in the original Donkey Kong Country, is it okay to start here talking about? So one of the new Kongs that introduced in this is Swanky Kong. Where is Swanky?
Swanky's Bonus Bonanza?
There we go. I kind of like this character.
Yeah, I'm into it.
He is dressed like a 1970s game show host.
Yeah, like a sparkly blue suit.
Yeah, and like holding one of those long microphones. And you play a game with him where he quizzes you on things that you've experienced in the game so far. So being like, how many hits did it take to kill this boss? Or what was the name of this level? Or where's the first level where you saw a beetle? Questions like that. And that's something that Mark, you don't care for the Banjo-Kazooie games, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So at the end of the first Banjo-Kazooie game, there is a big. It's a weird. It messes up the pacing altogether. But there's a big board game that you have to play, and depending on what spaces you land on, sometimes you have to do like combat trials. Other times you have to do like speed runs of like little sections of the game. And then some of them are exactly like this, where it's like, what was the name of this enemy that you killed in this world? Or like, sometimes it quizzes you about the like dumb little things that like the witch teases you with. And obviously same developer, so it's cool to see that like kind of proto version of that idea playing out in Donkey Kong Country 2.
Similarly, so I jumped from Donkey Kong Country, and the next Donkey Kong game I played was Donkey Kong 64.
Yes.
And so I was like, what's up with all these collectibles in Donkey Kong 64?
Yes.
Because I missed these obviously baby steps. There are so many different collectibles in Donkey Kong Country 2.
Let's see if we can break them down.
Yeah, let's see if we can. If we can. There's
I'm not
many.
convinced we can.
Yeah.
So you
There's
got your
bananas.
Right?
There are the different colored balloons.
Yeah. Let's try to. So the bananas, you collect 100 to get a life. Right.
Different colored balloons. Red gives you 1 extra life.
Blue is 2 and green is 3.
I think.
That's probably right. If it's not right, Swanky's not here to dock us coins. Speaking of coins, there are banana coins.
And
you spend those.
You spend those for tips from Cranky Con, like hints.
Right.
How to play the game with
Wrinkly Kong. Who is sort of, if Cranky is the grandfather of the Kong family, Wrinkly is the grandmother. Not to imply necessarily that there's a relationship between the two of them. I don't know if there is. And she's at the Kong College.
Yes.
Okay. And then you can also spend them on playing Swanky's game. And is that it?
Yeah.
Saving the game if you've
already saved in that world once.
Right. Okay. Next collectible item.
The
Creme coins?
Creme coins. which is like they have K. Rool on it.
Yeah, Captain K. Rool,
Uh-huh.
who I could have sworn was a king as recently as the last game.
But now he's on a ship.
It's still a pretty severe demotion from king to captain. In any event, he has his face on a currency, so maybe it's not a demotion at all.
And then there's DK coins. Okay, so the K. Rool coins, those are for, there's a big buff crocodile,
Yeah, Kremling,
Kremlin.
who I believe his name is Klubba.
Yeah, Klubba, and you have to have 18 of them,
15.
15 for the bridge,
Right.
which we don't know what that does yet because we don't have 15.
Right. Yeah, he first shows up in the second world in the Crocodile Cauldron and says, "You can cross my bridge if you give me 15 Krem coins." And then you're given the option, like, give him the coins, fight him, or leave. And so we were like, oh, well, let's try fighting him. And, he just, like, clubs you away. And that's the end of it. It's actually pretty cute.
There's DK coins,
Mm-hmm.
which maybe one per level,
It seems like there's one per level.
but we don't know what those do yet.
They may not do anything. They may just be another, like, collectible
Gross.
thing.
And then stars,
Right, but stars are only in
the
like,
bonus worlds.
Right, and when you collect all of those, then you get something else. Also, there are the letters KONG in every letter.
So
level.
let's break it down.
Okay, that
Ban-
wasn't breaking
Bananas,
it down.
balloons,
Uh-huh.
banana coins,
Uh-huh.
the K. Rool coins,
The DK coins, stars, letters. I think that's it. 7 different collectibles.
7. Ugh.
It's a lot.
It's I kind of feel like it's too many.
It does the distinction between the the K Rool coins and the DK coins. That's a lot. Although I kind of like that there is, if what we believe to be true about the DK coins is correct, that there's just one of them in every level, and you
Mhm.
just need to like find and tag that one thing. But maybe the distinction between the Kremlin coins and the regular coins, that's too much.
Yeah.
And why the stars ever? Why ever stars?
Why not more bananas?
Why not more bananas?
I guess they didn't want it to count towards your total.
Who cares?
I know, it doesn't make any sense.
Like, oh, the game gets really unbalanced if they have access to 30 more bananas.
So, how are you liking it overall?
I'm liking it. It seems to have gotten difficult fast.
Yeah, but I'm okay with it.
I'm okay with that too, but like we're at the end of the second world, and I try to think about like where you are at the end of the second world of the original Donkey Kong Country or any Mario game, and I feel like you're still sitting pretty, right? You're still kind of like, this game's easy. I'm not hitting like any kind of real roadblocks. I'm having fun exploring, but this has been tough, right?
Yeah, I for some reason it feels fine to me though, because I assume that they assumed that people are coming from Donkey Kong Country
Oh,
to Donkey Kong Country 2, and it's not like it's an even like plateau.
Yeah.
Where it's like, as hard as it was at the end of Donkey Kong Country, that's our starting point for Donkey Kong Country 2.
Right.
But the basic mechanics are similar. It doesn't feel too hard to me.
Sure.
Um,
But I would say that I am enjoying the game. I was just a little surprised by its difficulty. Are you as well?
yeah, I'm enjoying it too. I feel like I spent the entire first world comparing it to Donkey Kong Country.
Mhm.
So the first enemy you see is like a little googly-eyed rat.
Mm-hmm.
And
Another question that you're asked
and
by Swanky.
yeah, my immediate thought was like, my immediate feeling was like, that wasn't in Donkey Kong. That's so ugly. Like, I hate the character design in this game. But it's the same aesthetic as Donkey Kong Country.
Absolutely.
It's just a different application of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I am. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it.
I'm also enjoying it. I'm just like thinking about how different these first two worlds are to the worlds in Donkey Kong Country.
I like the verticality of these levels.
Mm-hmm.
In a way that you never really saw in Donkey Kong Country.
Yeah, well, and there's also like
Except
climbing
yeah.
climbing on ropes too. That was never a part of the original game. where you're doing that to like physically ascend. Like there was some they would swing on ropes,
Yeah.
but that's not quite the same as climbing.
And in the first game, there was also like the water levels had verticality.
But that's it, really.
Yeah, and they've applied that same like idea and mechanic to like rope climbing, stuff like that.
Yeah, but it's interesting how many of the levels do take a very strict vertical approach to them. That the level is a couple screens wide, but several screens tall. Where a normal Donkey Kong Country level is probably has like 3 stories of screens, but scrolls left to right for the most part.
What I'm kind of feeling is that Donkey Kong Country 2 has sequelitis, where it's like, let's give them more of everything they liked. More Kongs, more attitude,
Oh yeah.
more animal friends that can do more things.
Let's talk about the
more
attitude.
collectibles, more enemies. Like
Mhm.
maybe it's because I'm old, but it feels almost too much to me.
Oh yeah. I mean, and the original really only suffers that when you're in the presence of Funky Kong and Candy Kong, but that's a little bit different.
Who we haven't run into yet.
No, I wonder if they axed her and they were like, we already have one woman in the game.
Oh yeah,
I guess they have 2.
because Candy was a save point,
That's right.
and now Wrinkly is.
Yes.
So
She was also Candy would like blow kisses at Donkey and Diddy Kong, and maybe they were like they didn't want there to be any lesbian undertones between her and Dixie.
I guess she shows up in the Game Boy Advance version of this game
Okay.
as the game show host sidekick,
Oh,
or
that's
like a Price is Right type model,
that's
or
funny.
like the Vanna White.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll see if she shows up later, or if they just in the SNES version she's just gone entirely.
Yeah, that would be a weird choice to nix her from 1 and then be like, no, put her back in. And the fans love Candy Kong.
I mean, maybe.
But let's talk about the attitude here.
Sure.
So none of the new characters really exhibit this kind of attitude, right? Like Wrinkly Kong is a kindly old grandmother, aka has no personality in this game. And Funky is still Funky, but Swanky Kong, he's got his own thing,
Mhm.
which is great. But Diddy and Dixie are showing off this like hyper 90s attitude more
Well,
than anybody else.
Only
right?
when they complete a level
Yes.
successfully by because sometimes that happens and sometimes it doesn't. So it's like when you get a coin or like
At the ends of the levels, there are like these little targets that you have to jump on, and if you jump on them from high enough, or you get shot out of a barrel to hit them, then like the little thing hits.
Oh,
yeah.
I didn't understand that it was about like momentum into it.
Right, because if you just like walk into it, then they just walk off the stage and you hear the victory music and that's it. But if they're celebrating, they got to do it in the coolest way possible.
So Diddy pulls out a boombox and
Like a
shades
huge
drop.
one.
Yeah, that like on the shoulder,
Mm-hmm.
and shades drop over his eyes.
And his hat magically flips backwards, and he just rocks out.
Mm-hmm.
And Dixie pulls out an electric guitar and starts shredding.
And her hair's like whipping back and forth.
Yeah. Man, it's dumb every time.
But fun.
Is it?
Like I think so. It's like to me, it's like the peak of like 90s blue raspberry ratitude.
Yeah, I mean, then I just want him to like skateboard off the screen and like slam dunk a basketball. It's I don't know. It's almost incongruous with the rest of the game, right?
I don't know. For some reason, I associate Donkey Kong Country so much with the 90s that it doesn't bother me. Like it feels right.
I had mentioned in an episode a while back that I thought that the Donkey Kong Country games were like the Sonic the Hedgehog of like Nintendo franchises. And I think we're seeing a lot of that quality in this game. A lot of that, 90s cool, just getting it up in your face. Yeah, that's how this game feels to me. I'm still ultimately enjoying it. Like those little aesthetic things that are dumb that I roll my eyes at aren't so bad that it gets in the way of anything.
How do you feel about the way that Dixie controls?
I feel okay about it.
Because she has a few abilities, like
Mhm.
she can kind of helicopter her hair to float for a little bit,
Yeah.
and she can scoop things up with her hair
It's why
and
does
then
everything have to
throw
be
it.
with the hair? Like I don't understand. I don't understand that.
And the timing takes a little bit of learning because when she scoops something up, it's a little slow,
Mhm.
and then it's slow to throw, and she's not protected because she's not holding like a barrel in front of her or anything.
Right, and that was one of the differences between Donkey and Diddy in the first game. Is Donkey Kong holds a barrel above his head and Diddy holds it in
Oh
front of
yeah,
him.
that's a good point.
But she doesn't have like any of the heft of Donkey Kong, so like he could do that like ground pound thing, that boom, and was also just bigger, so he could jump on fatter enemies, right?
But you're right, that is a similar mechanic though.
Yeah, that she holds it just a little bit differently.
Yeah.
Which also means it's maybe a little bit weirder to throw it at a wall you think you can break. You had to just like be more confident of the angle. Whereas Diddy, he's just throwing it straight.
They can also stand on top, like on each other's shoulders,
Mm-hmm.
and you can toss one up to get to higher places.
Yeah, or get a collectible or something, which is helpful. But I almost always forget about it until I'm like, how am I supposed to? Oh, okay, right.
Yeah, it almost feels like once we get further into the game and we're more comfortable with the controls and the mechanics, that that's when we'll want to go back to try to get like the
Mm-hmm.
secret things because we'll be more aware of it, more attuned to it.
So this is the modern gamer in me kind of grumbling a little bit. I wish there was a way to check on each level to see you got this many of this many tokens. You did get the DK coin in this one. Like right now, without going into it and basically re-exploring the level, you don't know how much of it you've cleared.
Especially with so many collectibles.
Yeah, you had so much to keep track of.
Because you could get to the end of the game and have like 99% completion
Yeah,
and have no idea.
it's out there somewhere.
Yeah.
Also, I suspect that this game is like the previous game, and there's actually 102% to this game. There was 101 in the first one, and I assume that there's 102 in this one because it's a sequel.
How are you feeling about the boss battles? When you think back on Donkey Kong Country, the bosses are very simple. They all
Yes.
basically uh, boil down to pick up this object and toss it
Yeah.
while avoiding projectiles. And these kind of do, but I like that they're the boss battles are more dynamic here, or at least the second one was with the sword.
Well, there's a lot about them that's more dynamic. One is that like you were saying, you fight them in different ways, but they're also all of the previous boss battles took place in like among piles of stolen bananas. And that's not the conceit of this game. Donkey Kong's bananas haven't been stolen. Donkey Kong himself has been kidnapped, which means that you're able to have these confrontations in places that aren't visually identical, right? So we've only done two bosses, and one of them was, part of the ship level, right? And the other one was,
Yeah, it was like the crow's nest.
yeah, it
'Cause
was the
that's where,
crow's
like,
nest, and that's where you fight like the bird. And then the other one, you're in like a lava cave, which is again consistent with like the theme of the level. So it feels more it feels more at home in the among the levels you've been playing, and B, it makes them separate from each other.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. I mean, both the bosses that we fought, the mechanics boil down, like how you defeat the enemy is the same.
Yeah,
Um, but in the second one, the cleaver,
yeah, that's right. Cleaver's
uh,
Kiln.
cleaver's kiln, y- like hooks appear, and so you have to like get from one side to the other in a way that is different. Basically, that's what's changed about that boss.
Right. Well, and there were banana coins up in the upper right
Oh,
corner.
that's true.
So like, here's a little bit of collectible within the boss. So like, even the boss fight has secrets to it, which is kind of cool. Um, yeah, I mean, I neither of the bosses were like super fun, but they're both interesting enough to feel like they're a real part of the game and not like throwing on the brakes for you to have like a frustrating or a kind of pointless fight with a vulture whose like head sticks in and goes. Grr!
I always thought that was a flamingo.
Oh, I always assumed that it was because there are other vultures in the game, right?
Yeah, you're probably right. I'd for just always assumed it was a flamingo.
But it moves more like a flamingo, right? Because if it were a vulture, for it to like fly in place like that, it'd be like a hummingbird. Which, then its wings would knock everyone down. It'd be going so fast.
I have to say, I'm not blown away
By this game,
like I was hoping to be. Yeah.
I'm hopeful and confident that the game has more interesting stuff to show us. Like, there's obviously quite a bit of this game left, so I'm hoping for more cool stuff. How do you feel about the animal friends? We've encountered a bunch.
Yeah, we've encountered
Ramby,
the swordfish,
on guard is his name,
and a spider,
and the snake,
and the snake, and the bird,
Squawk.
So we've done 5. It's fine. Again, to me, it feels a little excessive.
Yeah, it is a lot.
But I don't know how much of that is me being like, Donkey Kong Country didn't have this many, and how much of it actually is. Because, like, the spider's ability is pretty cool.
Yeah, so the spider, he can just shoot regular webs, or he can fire little, like, web balls that he can then turn into platforms. So it allows you to either go above stuff or travel vertically, and that's cool. The snake was a little bit less interesting. He was it also doesn't make sense. He's a springy snake. Like all those snakes you see that are springy all the time.
It's why the game Snake Pass is so easy.
That's right, because he can just hop to every platform he wants to. Can you imagine if Noodle was like that? Yeah. So, how do you feel about them? You think it's too much?
A little bit.
Yeah, I think there are only 4 animal helpers in the original game, right?
And I feel like I feel like Ramby and On Guard are the ones you see the most.
Yeah, and then there's the ostrich. His name is like Espresso or something, and the frog, Winky, the frog. And the frog jumps high. I'm saying that makes sense for a frog. It doesn't make sense for a snake. Might you hung up on this?
No, I'm just trying to think because it's like I'm enjoying it. I really am. But at the same, like, it kind of controls clunky, and I'm sure that's true of Donkey Kong Country. But going back to it is harder.
Yeah, it does seem like they have cleared up some of those, like as the series has progressed, and the returns and Tropical Freeze feel a little bit tighter than this game does, for sure. And then especially like when you're trying to recover from being shot out of a barrel, that always feels like we don't have a lot of control. When then means that that's usually in a vertical level, right? And then they just let you fall down the level for like forever, and then you just got to make your way back up.
I feel like hitboxes on things like the bees are a little. They're not wonky. It's just you just have to learn them. They don't always make you. It feels like you don't. You can, in a good way, you can be like further away than you think you would need to be in order to hit it.
Yeah, but I think the same is true for the platforming too. That like you don't always know whether you're looking at the actual end of the platform or the end of where the platform is starting to like fade into the background. And in the swimming levels, it's all like, who knows?
Yeah, I wish there were. We were talking about this. I just wish there were more visual cues.
Yeah,
as to where you can go and like where a secret area is. I guess that would defeat the point of a secret, but the worlds are so big and you're moving so fast, especially in that level where you have to jump on the seal so it'll spit in the water. So
adorable
to clear out the lava.
Yeah, this is how you combat lava: is you get a seal to spit in it, and it cools it right down. Yeah, and especially in there, it's hard to appreciate you should test every single surface to see if you can swim through it. Well, okay, if I stay down here, I'm gonna die. That's not fun. We've got a bunch of lives, so
Yeah.
although the game is challenging, there are lots of opportunities to get lives to combat that. And mind you, we are every time we have the opportunity to play Swanky's bonus bonanza, we do it.
Yeah, we do all 3.
Yeah. And trying to take notes and pay attention. How do you feel about the premise of the game? Rescuing Donkey Kong.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Seems fine.
Yeah.
It's presented to us strangely, right? Like you start the game, and first of all, you're just on a boat. You're on this ship, and I would have walked right past it, but ended up turning around and exploring a little bit.
Well, I don't. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, just then you go into this cabin, and there's a note saying like, "I kidnapped Donkey Kong. If you want to rescue him, come get him." Or I don't remember exactly what it said.
I feel okay about that because that's similar to how the first game starts. You're just outside of Donkey Kong's home, and then you go inside. And if you turn back and go inside,
Yeah, that's a good point.
that's when you see that all of his like bananas are gone, and he gets upset.
Right. I mean, there's something like logical about starting at Donkey Kong's house, though, right?
That's a beautiful sentence.
I mean, when you're Donkey Kong, where do you start your day? You start your day at Donkey
At
Kong's
your house.
Diddy Kong, what's he doing on on this ship?
Is it the ship that from the end of Donkey Kong Country?
It could well be. Just in the time. I mean, it could be that the game is happening minutes later, right? That you finish Donkey Kong Country.
Well, then where did Dixie come from?
I don't know.
Diddy's. I guess I always assumed they were brother and sister.
The game implies that
A romantic relationship, possibly.
Yes. One of the swanky questions is, what's the name of Diddy's girlfriend? Now, I pushed the A button quickly enough to get to the possible answers that we didn't realize if it had said girlfriend or girlfriend.
Like 6th grade when you're delineating whether they're girls that are friends.
How old do you think these monkeys are? What level of education do you think they've
I'm saying
gotten
7th or 8th grade. Junior high.
Okay, good. I mean, they are into, skateboards and boom boxes, and there's no evidence that they're into skateboards. I made that up.
It's heavily implied.
Possibly inline skating. It would have been the time for it. Mark, do you have any other thoughts about these first 2 worlds?
No, I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes. I like the variety seen so far.
Yeah. Yeah, again, both of these worlds have been unlike, just thematically, any of the levels in the first game. So just from that, they're trying different stuff and having a different way to present the same kind of levels.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, that I just got excited because that was another thing that we were talking about as we were playing. It's neat, or I just want to note that all of like the Diddy Kong animations are exactly the same as in the first game.
Yeah, there's seemingly one new one, which is him pulling out the boombox. But yeah, everything else seems to be identical.
Yeah, I guess him climbing is also new, because it's a new mechanic. But like when he
You mean when he has
dies-
like
when
both?
he's got both arms extended. But like when Diddy Kong dies, he does the same, scratch his head, whatever he does in the first game, and Dixie does this thing where she goes and like kind of cries. It's real funny. But it's just neat that when you think about sequels to other games, that they would redo those assets or get it more in line. Like from one Mario game to the next, the whole style changes, and the Donkey Kong Country games are like unified in the style.
That's true. I mean, it makes sense to me since they are kicking these things out the door one a year, basically.
Yeah, do you think it was originally envisioned as a trilogy?
No, I imagine it was originally created as 6 movies, but he had to figure out, or 9, but he had to figure out like where he's going to start the story.
Sure,
so
it was a nonology at first.
Yeah. So he's like, episode 4 is going to be the beginning. So Donkey Kong Country is.
I would
actually that's.
If there's a Donkey Kong Country prequel trilogy.
I mean, isn't that Donkey Kong 1, 2, and 3? for the
Oh.
arcade games.
Oh my gosh, Mark.
Now, those came first, so it doesn't add out.
Right, that's true. It doesn't work. Also, Donkey Kong. Well, yes. So 2 is Junior, Donkey Kong Junior, and
Donkey Kong
Donkey
3.
Kong 3. Whatever happened to that Stanley guy, the protagonist of Donkey Kong Country or Donkey Kong 3?
Whatever happened to Donkey Kong Jr.?
That is the Donkey Kong that is Donkey Kong Country's Donkey Kong.
What?
Okay, so it is implied that Cranky Kong is the original Donkey
You're
Kong.
right.
So I'm making an assumption here that that's the way the generations work. Cranky could be Donkey's grandfather, in which case there's a missing generation. So maybe maybe it's not a prequel we're looking for, it's an interquel to see the grown-up adventures of Donkey Kong Jr.
Well, couldn't Cranky be Donkey Kong's father and Diddy's grandfather?
So you're saying that that's how... I mean, there are a couple problems here, right? One is that Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong are not the same species of animal. But I assume that they were peers and not separated by generations.
Who?
Diddy and Donkey.
Oh, interesting.
You think that, like... Because I always saw them as, like, that their relationship is fraternal, right? That they're, like, brothers. I always assumed they were the same generation.
I always assumed they were different generations.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, and if that's the case, then Donkey Kong is in fact Donkey Kong Jr. and Cranky Kong is Donkey Kong.
Gotcha.
But it is entirely possible that there is a missing generation of Kong, the lost generation.
Well, you got to leave that out for the expanded universe books.
That's right. That's right. Similarly, Sarah and I were watching a little bit of the Indiana Jones Temple of Doom last night, and it got me wondering why there's no grown-up short round movie.
Oh yeah,
like that would be a good interquel. I want to see his grown-up adventures. It'd be good.
That would be fun.
All right, so we're gonna get back to playing this game.
Yeah, let's dig into some more.
And then we'll be back in a second to let you know just how far we got. Okay, we are back. We just beat Creme Quay. Now I hear you saying, wait a minute. That's one world, you guys.
Oh my gosh.
This world.
Oh.
I don't know, man. This game gets tough.
This game gets tough.
So muscle your way through that and then join us next week, all right?
Or in 2 weeks.
Or in 2 weeks, that's right. Join us then. You'll need the 2 weeks. On the next episode of NCS Classic Edition. Swampy and gross and slimy.
And there's that stupid piranha. I just want to tip that piranha over and like stomp on it.
Yeah, and call it a bad monkey. Let's talk about the level where you turn into the snake.
I didn't hate it. Hey, don't take out your frustration with this game on me.
Who am I supposed to
I'm
take
just
it out
living
on?
in this world.
Good. These guys aren't good at video games. Me neither. I'm happy to just get through them. And when I say happy, I mean like filled with rage.
What's a Creative Podcast Network?